With a passion for photography and more than 20 years behind the camera and computer screen, I help people preserve, process, and print their images. This is Ask Andrew D about Lightroom. Hello, and welcome to Ask Andrew D about Lightroom for Mac users. I'm your host, Andrew Darlow, and I'm very happy that you could join me. I've been a professional photographer and writer for over 20 years, and I created this new weekly video show and audio podcast for a lot of reasons, but here are just a few to help you decide if it might be right for you. First, I know how frustrating it can be to get a burning question about Lightroom or workflow answered, and I'd like to be a resource for you to reach out to when you have questions, apart from just Google and the other sites that are out there. And I know what this is like. Just a few days ago, I was cloning one of my computers, and as soon as I restarted and the new computer connected to the internet, my online backup through Backblaze started up and things got all messed up. So I learned something, and so I researched, I found out how to fix it, and everything's okay. But it was a little scary because if it didn't get fixed, I would have had to upload another 5 terabytes of pictures and videos to Backblaze. Also, if you have Lightroom sitting on your computer, maybe because you subscribe to Adobe's Creative Cloud, or for whatever other reason you may have Lightroom, or maybe you've used it a little bit, but you get confused. I hope that the tips and advice that I offer really help make this show an important tool. And even though the focus is on Lightroom for the Mac, if you are a Windows user, I'd say about 90% of the content should be applicable to you because the applications are essentially the same. What's different are some of the things outside of Lightroom, like hard drive formatting, navigating through the operating system, differences in some of the backup applications that I plan to use. So for that reason, I really wanted to focus on the Mac. And also, I should note that the show is completely independent of any other company, including Adobe Systems, and all of the opinions are my own and those of the fine people who submit questions. Hopefully that's you. So this question is from Neil from New York. Neil asks, I switched to a Mac a while ago and found that the print routine and setup has been a bit more flexible on a PC, given that I print through Photoshop. I find that the ability to choose the size of the print and its location on the page is not as easy in Lightroom. I feel like I'm missing something. I use the print module for almost everything that I print. And the great thing about it is when things come into the print module, it's not a specific length and width at a specific resolution to start with, like Photoshop. So that's, I think, where Neil is getting a little bit tripped up. So Neil, if you bring your picture into the Lightroom print module, you're going to see, no matter what size it is, it's going to look something like this. And this is a sample image, a little test print that I created that I'll make available to everyone. And it's going to fill whatever space. Let's say in this case you choose letter size, or 8.5 by 11. So it's going to fill that entire space. But I recommend that in order to do testing, you make it much smaller. So it just fits in the corner, more like this. And by showing you how to move this picture into the corner, you'll be able to easily make a series of prints so you can put the paper back through your printer, in this case approximately 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's great for testing, especially before you put a really big sheet of paper through your printer. This is a fantastic test. So by having something like this, I think you'll find that your workflow is much faster. You'll avoid issues like if you get banding or if you notice color missing, then it's just a good sign that you need to either clean the heads of your printer or do something else to make it perfect. So that's my recommendation. And before I move on to the screencast part of the lesson, I'm going to show you what else is possible without actually showing so much on the screencast. So this is just a simple contact sheet that you can set up inside of Lightroom. That works really well. Let's say, in this case, for my classes, I give these away a lot, so I create the contact sheet right inside of Lightroom. Or if you're doing a portrait, you can do something like this. So this would be for a family. So I did two 5x7s or 4x6s, 4x6s on an 8.5 by 11. So that was really quick and easy. And I'll show you one other really good test image that I like right here. So this one I will give you as well. It's called the photo disc test image. I'll send you a link to this one. So it has a combination of skin tones. It has this Macbeth chart in the middle. So a lot of bright colors. So it's a good test for just seeing what your paper, your printer, and your ink are doing. Or if you send it out to a lab, you can also get a good look at how things look. And just to show you what else you can do, after you get a great test print, you can make a smaller print like this. Obviously, this could also be a final print on like a semi-gloss paper, but I often use this to test. So if I know that the company I'm going to send, let's say, a canvas to, is in sync with my printer, and there are different ways to do that, I can first make a print just to make sure everything looks good to me, and then I can send out for a print like this. This would be a canvas print with an antique gold frame. So that's just an example, and this will be donated soon to a pet-related charity, and I enjoy doing that. Okay. All right. And I can show you others, but just because I'm not going to do a whole lot of this on other shows, but here's another example of another print. And I'll also show you black and white right here. I love black and white, so you see that. All right, so let's move on to today's lesson. Here we are in Lightroom, and I'm going to show you how to place a picture. It's a little bit different than Photoshop, as you'll see. And right now, I just brought up a few calibration test images, which I like to use. And the reason I like these is because it gives you a really quick look at what you can expect when you finally make a print. So there's this popular one called the photo disc target, and you can see it has a lot of different colors. It has some people in it, and it has this really good area up here, which you can see how good the shadow detail is when you make a print. And then I took the same picture, and then I added my combination of pictures, which you'll see in a second. And then I added a grayscale wedge to this one. And then you'll see this one, which is great for 4x6 lab printing. And it has a color print on top and then a black and white section on the bottom. But I think we're going to use this one for this test because this helps just to see what a normal picture might look like if you were to bring it into the print module and place it and know exactly what size it is. So let's do that. And this is a combination of pictures that Fuji and Kodak distributed many years ago for print testing. And in order to make a small compact image, I just brought some together and then I added one of my pictures because it provided a sepia to go with the color images, and also I added a gray scale step wedge. And what's nice about this is if you use a very neutral paper, one that doesn't really have a color cast, whether that's blue or yellow, and you make a print, whether you do it or you send it out to a lab and then you view it under daylight and it looks very neutral, then you should be in pretty good shape. You should be then you should have a good color balance at that point. It's just a good baseline to start from. So let's go from library to the print module. We can either click on print or we can press Command P. And I've already gone into my margins, but let's just say for most people, you're going to find it right in here and centered. Now, it's a little different than Photoshop. Photoshop takes into account right away what the size is of the picture. But in Lightroom, as you can see here on the right side, circled in yellow, you adjust the cell size to change the size of the image. And depending on the page setup and the size of the sheet, that cell size will change as far as the maximum that it allows you to adjust it. Now, what if we want to place it somewhere? Okay, so I recommend you place it first in the upper left-hand corner, then do a quick test, because then with a little bit of ink and not that much paper, you can quickly see how your printer is doing. Like you can see if there's lines or things like that. Just doing a nozzle check is really, in my opinion, not good enough. So I like to make these prints because they're fast, they use very little ink, and you can do at least 4 of these pictures up on one 8.5:11 piece of paper. So let's go first into page setup, and here we are. I'm going to choose the Epson 3880, and here I'm going to US letter. I'm just going to choose the straight US letter option, and then vertical or portrait orientation. Scale is 100%. Let's click OK. And now the magic happens. So if you like to push this into the corner, I like to think of this like the original Star Wars episode 4, I think it is, when they were in that garbage room and the walls were coming in on them from different directions. So if you think in those terms, what we want to do is push the right wall or the right margin over by pushing that over like that until it becomes just about half of the sheet. And then we can push the bottom up and then you get that. So I think you can see how that can be placed directly there. And you can see how you can put multiples up one after the other. So let's go ahead and save that now. Now I'm not going to go too far into all these other items, but you can see these are unchecked and they should generally be unchecked for when you do testing like this. So let's press plus here in the template browser, and I'm going to put in this case, Epson 3880, since the printer name will be saved and Lightroom will actually remember that for you. And then 8.5 x 11 upper left test. Let's just do it like that. So let's create that. If I didn't have a folder for it, I could create a new folder. I happen to have a folder for my 8.5:11s. So let's press create. And now if we look under 8.5:11 on the left side, we will see our Epson 3880 8.5:11 upper left test. So if we had another picture, let's say by looking into our film strip and we click another one like this one, you can see that one will pop right in there. So it's a very, very useful tool. So let's go back to this one. Now let's say we make a print. Okay, let's say we want to make another print. No problem. We can either push our margins back to 0 and start over, or we could instead just move the right margin over there and the left margin over there. If we wanted to drop it down a little bit, we could move the top margin, or we could key it in here. We could use what's called these scrubby sliders, which are, you see how it just goes a little bit, turns into a little hand. So that's really, really useful. So I won't go into the whole printer side of things, but I think you can see how useful this can be for moving around your pictures. And when you click on the dimensions, this is very important, which I had on before. When that is checked, then it will tell you exactly what the size of this picture will be on the sheet of paper. So in this case, 3.495 by 3.764. And in this case, because I haven't forced it to a specific print resolution over here, it actually tells me it's 256 ppi, which will print just fine on just about all the print processes I know. You can even go as low as about 150, but you'll have to do a test. It depends on the paper, the printer, and all that good stuff. I generally like to keep my prints between 200 and 500 pixels per inch before I worry about upsizing or downsizing. But again, that's a whole nother thing. So for now, I hope that was really helpful, and I look forward to answering more questions like this. Because I've dedicated this show to answering your questions, I invite you to send me questions about Lightroom workflow, backup, or printing on the Mac platform, and I'll do my best to answer the questions that I think can help the most amount of people. If for some reason I can't answer your question on the show, then I'll do my best to send you to another resource, or I'll answer your question privately. And the best place to ask questions is askandrewd.com, where you'll also see all of the shows and other goodies. I have some really interesting things there for you. So thank you so much for stopping by, for watching and listening, and I'll be waiting for your questions. Bye-bye.